Herzlichen Dank, Victor.
Thank you very much, Victor.
Du hast Françoise, deine Mutter, zweimal genannt.
You mentioned your mother, Françoise, twice. And she said to me this morning when we were driving here, the young people should do that. Victor should do the welcome address. He has the energy, he enjoys it, and we really notice how you enjoy it.
Ich fange da an,
I will start
wo wir gestern
where we
aufgehört.
stopped yesterday.
Auch da kann ich anschließen dann das,
And
was
here
du
again,
gerade gesagt hast.
I agree to what you just said,
Auf
Victor,
die Frage von Françoise,
regarding the question asked by
ob das
Françoise,
Fasten sich positiv
whether
nicht
fasting
nur auf das Gehirn
has
allgemein,
a
sondern
positive effect not only on the brain but also on meditation.
der mit
Mark
Mäusen
Mattson,
experimentiert
who
hat,
experiments with mice,
er habe nie
answered
versucht, mit Mäusen
he never tried to meditate with mice.
experimentiert, aber nicht meditiert.
Experimenting with mice,
Also
yes,
nicht
but meditating,
sagen, wie das sei.
he can't really say what that's like.
Ich habe für mich das Ganze gestern
I,
Abend
for
so
myself,
zusammengefasst in
summarized this
Stabreim.
last night.
Manche Mäuse möchten
Some
manchmal
mice
meditieren.
sometimes want to meditate,
Aber Mark Mattson meint, man
but
müsse wissen,
Mark
wie. Ich habe
Mattson
jetzt
says you have to know how.
5M und diese Formel kann ich
So
mir
with these
merken.
5 M's
Die
in
Formeln,
the sentence,
die
I can
von
remember
gestern
that.
Abend kann ich nur bedingt
I can
mir
only to some extent
Aber
remember the other
manche
formulas,
Mäuse
but
müssen,
some
möchten
some
manchmal
mice want to
meditieren.
fast.
Das
Sometimes in German the sentence, every word starts with
ist der
M,
kleine
but they don't know how. So that's the little difference we have here.
Sie möchten, können nicht.
They want to meditate, but they
Wir
can't.
könnten
We could,
und wir tun es.
and we do.
Jetzt zum Beispiel in dieser
Now, for
Gesinnung,
example,
die zum Kongress gehört,
in this
das Amen.
silence and mood that we have in the Congress. We've had it for
Diese
years,
Gesinnung sollte, das ist die
and this
Vorgabe,
should be
das Gemüt und das Herz
a starting point.
ansprechen.
It should be good for the heart, it shouldn't be too long.
Eine Sonntagspredigt
This reflection, it is like a Sunday preach. It shouldn't be boring, it should be short and good. It shouldn't be long and bad.
Eine Besinnung, die also
A time of reflection that perhaps contains a story. And this is a story I would like to tell at the beginning.
Geschichte, die vor 6 Jahren hier
A
in
story
Rom schon
that
erzählt
had already
beim
been told
Jubiläum.
6 years ago at the
Aber
anniversary.
es waren nicht alle da.
But not all of you were here
Die
6
da
years ago.
waren, von denen
Those who
haben
were
einige
here,
geschlafen.
some of them had fallen asleep,
Die, die nicht
it was in the
geschlafen
evening,
haben, haben es vielleicht vergessen.
and those who
Und
weren't
die, die es
asleep
nicht
have
vergessen haben,
perhaps
für die ist
forgotten
es
it, and
eine
those who haven't
Wiederholung.
forgotten it, it's a repetition.
Kann man auch.
Stories can be repeated,
Und sie eröffnen uns den Zugang
and
zu einer
they give us
Dimension,
access
dem
to a
puren
dimension
Resonieren
that
verschließt. Ganz
is
im Sinne
closed
des
to the
romantischen
reasoning
Romans.
itself,
Wenn nicht mehr Zahlen,
to resonating,
Figuren,
where it's not about facts and figures, because that's not the key to all creatures. If they sing and kiss more than just the knowledge, and in stories and fairy tales and poems you see the real truth. There is a secret word that just gets rid of all the bad, because it's not the facts and figures that are the key to all creatures. When we're looking at fairy tales, poems, then everything bad leaves. And this word is silence today. I'm going to get back to that later, but first the story as I promised. We can put the story under the title, not you support the root, but the root supports you. And the highlight comes at the end. The story Once upon a time, there was a king who had a kingdom. Everything was working perfectly. He was bored, and he said, "I'll go and hunt." And his servants said, "We'll join you." They went to the forest, and there was a wonderful, colorful bird. And the servants were already ready to shoot the bird. And the king said, "No, don't shoot it. Catch the bird." They caught the bird. It was a parrot, brought it home. And the king liked it. They built a cage for the parrot, a golden cage. They gave him, the parrot, the best food a parrot can get. He doesn't have to fast, the parrot, he can play. And that happens every day, and the king and queen visit the parrot, and then the king said, "Oh, it's boring, I'll go and hunt." The servants say, "Okay, we'll join you." And before he goes to the parrot, and he said, "Do you want to say anything to your brothers in the forest?" And the parrot says, "No." And the king said, "Really?" And the parrot said, "Well, tell them I want to be free." And the king said, "What? You've got everything you need. You've even got a golden cage and you're not satisfied?" "But yes, I will tell your mates." The other parrots come. They go to the forest and the other parrots come, and the king says to them, "Your colleague says, your brother wants to be free." And all the parrots fall off their trees and they lie on the floor completely still. And then the king said to the other parrot, "I told them what you'd said." And then they fell off the tree and they just lied down still. And at that moment, the king's parrot also fell off and lied down. And then they fetched a pillow and put the parrot on it, and a silk pillow, and then they brought the parrot outside, and the parrot just flew away. He got up and flew away. And then the king said, "You lied to me." And the parrot said, "Why? We didn't lie. We weren't dead. And we just showed you how it works." So these parrots showed how it works, how the way to freedom works. And the other parrots were the solution in the forest. So, as I said, not you support the root, but the root supports you. So many of us have shown how life works. Many have trial and error for a long time, and they found out what is really important. And the same applies to fasting. For centuries already, or even for thousands of years, people have tried it. They've reflected on it, they've brought it to paper, they've talked about fasting, advertised it, and they've already also forgotten about it. People like Otto Buchinger have rediscovered fasting. I was delighted when I arrived yesterday evening and heard that Françoise was honored by her husband Raimund with a standing ovation. She really worked scientifically, and she is further developing Buchinger's heritage, and well done. Also to Raimund. Please understand me correctly. I'm not talking as the house priest of Buchinger, and I'm not absolving them of everything. I'm just a reference. And fasting is a minute of eternity of silence.
habe sein berühmtes Buch, Das Heilfasten und seine Hilfsmethoden, mehr als einmal
I've read his
auch
books
das Kleingedruckte
more than
und
once,
auch
also
die
the small
vielen
print,
Anmerkungen. Was ist die
also
Botschaft dieses
all the
klassisch gewordenen Buches?
side
Was
notes.
ist die Botschaft
So what's the
an
message
uns, die
in the
wir
book?
sein
The
Erbe
message that we
weiterführen,
have
verpflichtet wissen,
to continue with his spirit and his legacy.
Königsweg
Fasting is the king's way of healing methods, and it's supported by other measures. These are, on the one hand, somatic, bodily things, fresh air, sunbathing, packings, and many others. But on the other hand, there are also psychological, spiritual, physical, and also spiritual. And Otto Buchinger says that this is the healing way of the soul, guiding the soul to talk good and to pray. The nurses, the employees, the physicians do this. For 2 years, we said, we've been talking so much, and they just call it motivation. So it's encouragement and praying. And someone like Buchinger wasn't scared of praying. He has poems by Rainer Maria Rilke instead of citing the Bible, because he doesn't want to be too religious. But he's quite clear in this point. Read his book. The sections about fasting and praying, or the section about praying, or just praying, and the fasting physician. But especially read the chapter about silence and seclusion. But what does praying mean? The answer is praying is to be silent for our cause, that is for fasting. So this means, I'm citing, to listen to the voice of silence and to make this the main method over years. He is not afraid to say that fasting makes silence something essential. Fasting and silence belong together. This is something Mr. Buchinger discovered in a long process and wrote down at the end of his life. If we ask for this strong correlation, then we can say that in fasting we do a switch from nutrition from the outside to nutrition from the inside. And this switch, as Victor explained to me before, this switch from the outside to the inside makes it easier to go really inside, to be with yourself, to be calm. So silence is related with fasting. Yes, that is the title of this reflection. It is a twin of fasting. Endless silence. This is what is meant also with the method of Buchinger. Not just a recipe like you get when you Google it. When you Google it, it says you just drink broth, herbal infusions, thinned juices and vegetable juices, some water and honey and a bit of lemon, a slice of lemon, and if the doctor wants it, a yogurt, etc. Yes, that is part of it, but that's not the Buchinger method. His method is also called, with fasting, to have a minute of eternity of silence, to experience it and to get energy from it. So this is what it is at the end of his book. This method is translated to be the main method. And that is the foundation that bears you. These images are from a brother of mine who died. He is an artist. He died last year, a photographer, and that is from the Tessin. That is the image, and I think for our message is just right. Fasting and praying and being silent. That is vital for life. That is the basis. When I say bear or support, then I'd say, yes, you can try it. If you look at the Wilhelm Beck Street 27, and if you dig in there, you would know what I'm talking about. There is a copper box, and in October 1953, this box was let down there, and you will find the name of the director, Helmut Wilhelmi, and the inspirator, Otto Buchinger, and you will find a notice regarding the physician angel, Raphael. Not the archangel, but a doctor angel. He is responsible for healing. And there is a certificate that is in there, and it says the doctor angel, Raphael, should continue and support the work of this house day and night. But it's not over yet. Next to this box, with the name of the founder and the inspirator, he put another box in this foundation. And there we have, or in the ground, and there we have the book by Otto Buchinger. And in the book, he put a personal note. The book is in a kind of eternity and silence. So we have it again. Silence. What is silence? What does it do? Where do I find it? Silence is when there's no noise, no words, no action. It doesn't mean just being quiet. If you have a fence around your garden, that doesn't mean your vegetables are good. You need fostering and care of the plants and vegetables. And the same applies to silence. If you've got a mobile phone that's crossed through with a red pen, or a closed mouth with an index finger put to it, warning, be quiet, or a short word, psst, or shh, or in the waiting room, also a lamp that goes on when it's too loud in there. That may be helpful, and it can remind you that we should keep noise outside, but that isn't enough. It's not about forbidding something. It's about silence, and you may be silent. You may have silence. You can go in yourself, you can reflect. And you can be inside, be where silence is. Where, if I may say so, silence is behind silence, even. Retreat. So what is meant with silence, behind silence? Where is this place? Where is the space for the silence behind what we feel is silence? What is it? Where is this place of this eternal minute of silence? Where is the place or space where silence and time become one, where they're united? There is a German mystic, physician and priest. He says time is eternity and eternity is time, and we don't know what the difference is. So please get up from your chairs. That was by Mr. Silesius.
Das ist obligat bei den Besinnungen am Sonntagvormittag.
So it's Sunday morning, everyone has to get up. That's the same as in church.
Und alles, was so in der Hand
And everything that is held in your hand can be let go. Also your mobile phone, yes.
wir stehen gut.
So we're standing.
Silesius sagt, Zeit ist
Silesius says time is eternity and eternity is time,
macht einen Unterschied.
and we don't know the difference. We have to find the difference. Time is the leg that is closer to the window, your left leg.
Zeit ist wie Ewigkeit.
And time is like eternity,
So du nur
eternity
selber nicht
like time.
machst einen Unterschied. Zeit
And where's the difference?
Ewigkeit. Ewigkeit mit Zeit. So du nur selber nicht machst einen Unterschied.
So
Zeit.
you should not make a difference.
Zeit. Jetzt
Time,
stehen wir still.
eternity.
Stehen wir wieder
Time, eternity. And we just stand still.
und erleben einen
And then we experience
Ewigkeit, diesen Raum
a bit of eternity
Stille
in this room.
hinter der Stille. Es ist mehr
That is the silence behind silence. It's more than just a feeling of silence.
Dankeschön.
Thank you.
An dieser Stelle
Now,
möchte ich Ihnen
I would like to
Erfahrung,
tell you about an experience.
an der ich teilhaben konnte,
An experience
in der
I
Begleitung meines
had
Freundes
together with
Ernst
my friend Ernst Wig.
Ende September vergangenen
At the end of
Jahres
September
schickte mir eine schön
last
gestaltete
year,
Karte
he sent me a beautifully drawn card. On the first page of the card, there was a horseback rider
die Worte
and there was fog.
letzter Herbst.
And he wrote my last autumn.
Schrieb
Ernst wrote to me
feierlich, lieber Nick,
quite solemnly, "Dear Niklaus, my dear friend during fasting and Zen Master, waiting until Christmas? No. I'm sending you 2 letters where I described my suffering. He suffered from cancer, where I described my story of suffering.
meine tiefste Motivation für
My deepest motivation
der jetzt
for the step that I'm about to make can be phrased as follows.
erfüllte Leben, das mir Gott
The fulfilled life that God gave me,
vor die Füße schmeißt.
I don't want to throw it at his feet by suicide or choosing the exit route. No, I would like to give it back to him gratefully by praying and fasting in silence. I'd like to ask you to help me with your prayers and support during the last weeks of my life. I am praying with Brother Klaus. Give everything to me that helps me on my way towards you. Take myself, who I am, take all of what I am.
Im September
That was in September last year.
an Allerheiligen, am 1.
In November, on the 1st of November,
Familie
Ernst said goodbye to his family, and he also made up with his first wife, and on the 9th of November he gave his life to eternity,
fastend und betend.
fasting and praying.
Seine Frau,
His wife,
entscheidenden Tagen und Wochen,
who was with him in the last days and weeks, and who also was there to make the decision with him, wrote Wide as the sea is the love of God, like wind and meadows,
Und schreibt sie,
at home for the eternity. And she wrote, after a full life, Ernst
das Sterbefasten auf sich zu
made the decision to fast until death and to end his life. And that was his wish.
Erfüllung gegangen.
And his wish came true. He went back home. He's home now.
Ernst, davon bin ich überzeugt,
I'm convinced
hat noch
that
zu
Ernst,
Lebzeiten die ewige
during his life,
Stille erfahren.
experienced the minute of eternity, of silence. And he was allowed to understand the silence behind silence, to step into silence behind silence that seems so far away and is yet so close, like the air that we breathe, the air that goes through our body, that surrounds us, that holds us.
Tradition zu gebrauchen.
There is something in the Muslim tradition that says it's closer to us than our arteria,
Und weit, größer und weiter.
that is wider and greater than our heart. It's closer to us than the carotid artery.
Hinter der Stille
Now,
verlassen.
I would like to leave this space of silence behind silence, and I would like to return to the space of acting and talking. And I would like to talk about the political and societal dimension of silence.
Ich habe vor Jahren für unser Hausorgan
Years ago,
im LaSalle-Haus
in the LaSalle House,
Christian Kuhn gebeten, einen
I asked Christian Kuhn to write something about the power of silence.
Arzt beschäftigt, dass wir doch die neue Chefärztin
He was very busy, he was the main doctor, and of course, this is what main doctors do. And I didn't get anything because he was so busy, so I asked his secretary to remind him because I wanted to have something about silence that heals. What did she do? She told Christian, she said, silence is urgent. And this is when he sent me something.
Stille heilt. Ich habe das versucht zu
Silence is healing
stellen. Und
and urgent.
das heißt, es ist höchste Zeit,
So it is high time to look for silence, to maintain silence,
gesellschaftlich.
both in our private lives but also in our public lives. There's so much noise out there, and this is also due to the increasing mobility.
Breitete sich über die Siedlungsgebiete aus, belastet Mensch und Tier.
It's everywhere, and it's a burden on human beings, on our body and soul. Our body and soul react to the stress that's caused by all this noise that's covering everything. It increases our heart rate, we can't sleep anymore, we have stomach problems. These are just some of the problems that can be caused by noise. Noise insulation walls or whisper floors are always behind the regulations related to noise insulation. It's become a political issue, a societal task
Nachhaltig gegen Luft und
to not only act sustainably against air pollution and environmental pollution, but to also act against noise pollution and to work towards more silence in our lives.
Stille heilt.
Silence heals.
Den dänischen
And I love to quote the Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard. If I were a doctor, a physician, and if I were asked, what do you recommend? I would answer, create silence.
in der Kraft, in der Stille eine heilende
There is a healing power in silence, and a good physician will recommend a calm environment, silence. In other words,
Stadt Pille.
silence instead of drugs.
Im Wunder der Stille leise,
To quietly hold out one's hand to the
nicht müde
miracle of silence.
lautet der Titel eines
Never becoming tired. That's the title of a poem. The title of the poem and the verses are like a program for the culture of silence. Never get tired of it, but to quietly hold out your hand to the miracle of silence, like a bird. Don't get tired of it, but to quietly hold out your hand to the miracle of silence, like a bird. Maintaining silence not only requires time and a certain rhythm, no, it also requires patience and a careful handling of the silence without pressure, without telling people, just be quiet. If you do that, silence cannot be created. Just hold out your hand out to the miracle of silence, possibly fasting, like you would do to attract a bird. Silence will get used to you, and you will be able to hear the sound and the song of silence. Also, when you're in the midst of a bustling market square. Thank you very much for your attention.